Do we remember how to do this? Welcome to episode 141 of the Wise Guys Sports Show. It is our 2026 Major League Baseball preview show. I am one of your hosts, JC Blue Note, Jim Crenity. Let me go ahead and bring in my partner, Mike Martinez. Mike, the reason why we're late, I had to relearn how to do all this over again because it's been 2 months.
Yeah, it really has been. And we haven't been live since the Wisies, which actually was kicked off by our first ever pre-recorded segment. But James, speaking of the Wisies, it's a preview show. Now, we were supposed to have the Horsemen. Unfortunately, Alex had a family obligation, could not come on tonight, but we're sending all our best out to Alex in Chicago. But that means there is but a third member of the trio, and he is quite simply the Hall of Famer. He is the sporting Sith. He is... Yes. He is the sporting Sith, Mr. John Rice. John,
Champions pose.
Hey, I'm all set. I am all ready for the Major League Baseball preview show. Let's go. Let's do this. I'm so pumped.
Amen. Oh, we got to bring you out a few times tonight. Of course, John may be wearing an Indians blue jersey from the 90s, but it's Roger Dorn on the back, which is even better.
You know it.
Here we go. That's amazing. So, gentlemen.
How many Roger Dorn lines or how many Roger Dorn comments like thrown back at Roger Dorn are we going to use tonight, and how fast are we going to get kicked off the air? You know the one I'm talking about. We are not going to say it.
Coffee?
Michael.
As I got to fix the table. But gentlemen, the last time we spoke was, of course, the Wisey Awards, which was the last live event Jim and I did, which was in January. And now here we are just a couple months later, and it's baseball season. With the World Baseball Classic kicking off the other day, it really is baseball season.
Yes.
Couple of big things out of the WBC, just real quick. Kyle Schwarber, I don't think that ball Schwarber hit against Great Britain has landed yet. Did you see where it ended up landing, John?
No, I didn't.
10 rows in the upper deck in right field in Houston.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And then MLB released the umpire cam video of that ball. You couldn't even see it. He hit it, and it was just, you couldn't see it.
I've been noticing there's been a lot of home runs in the WBC this year.
So, and by the way, it's been 20 years since the first one back in 2006. We had our first walk-off home run in WBC history last night as Puerto Rico walked off, I want to say Panama, last night. And then FaceTime Lindor, who, of course, is hurt and couldn't play. So I thought that was pretty cool. And, of course, it was Kike Hernandez running around with a goddamn phone the whole time. That dude, playing for the Dodgers or not, that dude is one of my favorites. So, James, what do you say we start? You want to start with the defending champs side of the ball, or you want to start with the ones trying to dethrone them?
Well, let's kick this off right. And honestly, ladies and gentlemen, we might be witnessing history. This might be one of the last times we get to play this graphic, and that'll
Oh,
actually become
yes.
available as we go through tonight. We'll
I
explain a
apologize.
little bit more of that.
It's the three biggest topics in the world of sports from the last week. Get ready for the Wise Guys hat trick.
I'm not going to play horns either, because we've got some other new sound effects that are going to be in the pipe, and you'll actually see those start to debut when we do our next live show. I'm sorry, our next tape show later on this week that should be available on Saturday the 14th.
Nice. So, what do you say we start with the senior circuit there, James? As the National League is basically asking itself a question: what do we have to do to beat the fucking Dodgers? Back-to-back World Series champions. Well, besides that,
Salary cap, salary floor,
salary floor.
Salary floor more than anything.
Can't have the owners in Pittsburgh and Cleveland lying in their pockets and then complaining they can't compete.
Exactly.
Contracting Los Angeles, contracting San Diego.
But I don't know how Cleveland does it every year. They're always competing with one of the lowest.
They have the best
payrolls.
minor league pitching programs in the history of the sport. That's how they do it. But let's get into the National League. We'll talk a little tribe. I mean, guard, whatever the hell they're called, in a minute. But let's talk about the National League. Of course, the first back-to-back World Series champion since the Yankees dynasty in 98, 99, and 2000. Look, for all we're talking about salary cap, salary floor, that is a team that was literally an eyelash from losing the World Series. That's how close that play at the plate was that would have given Toronto the lead and eventually a Game 7 win in Toronto. Lots of moving parts this offseason. Of course, Kyle Tucker ends up going to the Dodgers after flirting with the Mets and the Phillies. The Mets pivot and get Bo Bichette and, of course, bring in Freddie Peralta. Cincinnati made a splash with bringing Eugenio Suarez back to help solidify the middle of that lineup. There were a lot of moving parts, and a lot of it, though, if you notice, were people staying put. Michael King from San Diego stayed there after everybody thought he was going to take a lot of money on the open market. There was a couple other ones. Who the hell stayed put? I can't remember now. Oh, JT Realmuto stayed in Philly. Kyle Schwarber stayed in Philly. So really these teams are reloading up to make a run at the Dodgers. But here's the question. I want to pose it to you first, John. If you had to pull a team out of the hat that's going to take a real run at the Dodgers this year, who's it going to be?
Ooh, that's a great question. Wow, from the NL. Oh my gosh, that's really, really tough. Well, it's absolutely positively not the Rockies. I mean, they could stack up their next 5 years of wins and still not compete. But that's a great question. I think it would have to come out of the division, and I think it would probably have to be the Padres. I think they play them the most. They have the most run against them. Obviously, you do play everybody else, but you play most of the games against your division. And I think if anybody's going to give them a run, it's going to be the Padres.
Jim, same question.
I agree with the Padres. It's just to piggyback off of John here. I think that they've got the talent. They've also got the ability that we've seen to be able to spend with them. Philadelphia brought a lot of their guys back, but let's also be honest. Between, Schwarber, Real Muto, Bryce Harper, that team's also not getting any younger anytime soon. San Diego's got the ability to go out and do that. Milwaukee lost a major part of their rotation. Ironically enough, to via free agency to the freaking Dodgers. I'm sorry, to the Phillies. So, you'd figure the Cubs could be there. But I think realistically, it's got to be the Padres because the Padres nearly ran them down at the end of last year. Philadelphia finished 3 games better than the Dodgers. The Phillies did finish with the best record in baseball. The Dodgers were the fourth best record in baseball. I'm sorry, Milwaukee actually had the number one seed and went out early again. So my how the turns have tabled, in that regard in just a very short span. But I think it's got to be the Padres. I think if this is going to be, you know, and you can't really equate it in baseball like you can any other sport, just one ball on the field, but it's still it could this also be a possibility of, you know, like those Laker teams with like Karl Malone and Gary Payton. It's like you can't have that many stars and expect to go out and blow everybody away.
No, you're absolutely right. And if I had to answer the same question, I'm actually not going to go with San Diego. I am going to go with either the Phillies or the Mets. And the reason why is I think they're the only two teams that have rotations to stack up. The Mets adding Peralta this year is the one thing they did not have last year, which is the top of the rotation bona fide ace. Philly, if they can get something out of Aaron Nola that they haven't gotten in a couple of years, which is consistency, they're going to be really good too. A lot of people are saying Atlanta. Chris Sale's been healthy for 2 years. The other show's going to drop. Sorry. Acuna's coming off 2 knee surgeries. How's that going to go? Ozzy Albies has decided to stop hitting left-handed until this year. How's that going to go? So you really, I don't see how Atlanta's going to do it. But if there were 3, if I had to give you 3, it'd be the Mets, the Phillies, and the Cubs. I think the Padres are not in the Dodgers' head anymore, and that's why they weren't going to be able to catch them.
You also forgot the one thing that came down earlier this week with regard to the Braves. Jurickson Profar is gone for the year.
That's true.
162, baby. Gone.
Bye. I mean, put it this way. The Dodgers, they spend a ton of money. They have a good farm system. But here's the thing. They go and get certain type of players. They see what they need, and that's the players they target. They do the thing you're supposed to do to make your team better. Are they ruining the game? No, they're not.
No, they're not the Yankees of the 90s and 2000s.
No, they're not.
They're not just spending money just to get the biggest names. They're actually getting quality players at every single position. Are they getting the best player at each position? No, but they are getting a top 10 player at every single position, and that is going to consistently win you games.
I think the only hole in that argument is, yeah, they do go out and they get quality players until you actually throw $750 million at the best player in the game.
But yeah, that's the best player in the game. You're not throwing that much money across the table at every single position. I mean, let's face it, Ohtani is worth that. This player comes around once, not even in a generation, once in a century. This is Babe Ruth we're looking at. We're watching Babe Ruth in real time right now. He can play any position on the field. He can hit anywhere on the field. This is we are watching absolute greatness. Like what Michael Jordan was in baseball, what Tiger Woods was in golf, like all of that is, they're great. They are the GOATs. But what we are watching Ohtani do in baseball is absolutely centurion stuff.
You're absolutely right. And you also got to remember, he wants to pitch. And I want to give you guys the true scary scenario. They went out and signed Edwin Diaz this offseason. Imagine if they would have stuck Ohtani in the closer role. When's he blowing a save?
I don't know.
I mean, in all seriousness, when is Ohtani blowing a save if he's the guy with the ball in the 9th inning? Now, the one thing
but here's the thing. Now, are you going to have him be a position player and then come in and pitch in the 9th? I mean, that could end up being, he could be very tired by that point. So, I mean, I'm not saying that his arm is going to be tired. I'm just saying he could just be exhausted from a 3-hour game, 2.5, 3-hour game. You know, these closers are just that. They're closers. They're sitting in the bullpen, and then they're going out and warming up for 10, 15 minutes before they're getting put on the mound.
When so they're not tipping pitches and gambling.
Well, yeah. And so they're coming in absolutely fresh. He's playing a full 8-inning, 9-inning game and then coming in to close. So I think that would be a little bit different, but I see what you're saying, Mike.
Yeah, and him DHing is not the same as if he was playing, say, right field.
True.
But at the same time, you know what I mean? Who's hitting him? The other truly scary thing about this upcoming season is the possible ramifications it could have on 2027. Dude, if they win 3 in a row, which I'll be honest with you, I don't see how there is like there are some teams that win a couple of championships and you see a brick wall coming that they run into. We all saw the brick wall coming for Golden State. We all saw the brick wall coming for other teams in other sports who've won multiple championships.
We saw it this year with Kansas City.
Exactly. We saw it with Kansas City in their run. I don't see the brick wall for the Dodgers, guys. I don't.
No, I don't
unless
either.
the injury bug hits them.
Yeah.
Unless the one thing they haven't had other than Freddie Freeman's ankle a couple years ago is any actual injury concerns. So that's one thing I'm going for. But the other side of the coin is their 2 Japanese pitchers that they brought in the last 2 years pitched more innings last year than they ever have ever.
I was just thinking that, Mike, because the Dodgers are one of those teams where their lineup is so good. Cleveland, Philadelphia, your Mets, your rotation is so good that even if you lose a bat, provided it's not the biggest bat in your lineup, you guys lose
Soto.
Well, I mean, if you guys lost Soto, you got Lindor. You guys lost what the hell's his name? Signed with Baltimore.
Alonso.
You guys lose Alonso. You still have Lindor and Soto hitting there. Assuming it's not like everybody going down, but you still got enough in the lineup. If Jose Ramirez gets injured for the Guardians, they're done, regardless of how good their rotation is. Tarek Skubal goes down, the Tigers are toast, at that point in that division. But it's the fact that the Dodgers are so loaded that they've got the best player in the game who's one of the most solid pitchers in all of baseball. And now you've got the World Series MVP who won it by a country freaking mile for what he did in the final 3 games of that series as the number 2 in that lineup. Come on.
No, you're absolutely right. And of course, going to the East Coast, the one team that, the Dodgers really ran through the LCS last year. The Mets pushed them to 6 games in 24. It's a new day in Queens.
Yes, it is.
Jim, you and I had the conversation. I was ready to drive to New York and commit a hate crime. Because I was ready to kill someone when those 4 players were dealt. And then as I sat back and thought about it, I see what they're trying to do. So unfortunately, me being the psycho Met fan, I am going to trust the process. David Stern built a winner in Milwaukee without 2 dimes to rub together. He's got some money to do it now. Let's see what happens. What I'm interested to see, though, is I'm interested to see what the National League Central looks like. Tito in year 2 with Cincinnati is going to make noise.
Yeah.
Here, guys, this is going to be a huge thing. I just kind of looked up some stats real quick. In 2025, the Dodgers recorded 27 blown saves. So that's
Jesus.
that nearly 30 blown saves. That's a high. You're looking at, they just cut that in half, and you're looking at 115 wins.
Now, do you see why Diaz was given the money he was given?
Edwin Diaz, it says, based on 2025 MLB regular season data, Edwin Diaz did not have a high volume of blown saves, operating as a dominant closer with 28 saves.
And the Dodgers still won 93 games and at a plus 142 run differential.
Yeah,
which was 3rd best in the National League, 4th best.
So adding Diaz to that tail end, they're basically saying, you know what, we 28 saves or 27 saves, blown saves is too many, and they're basically going out and saying, you know what, we want these games closed, we want these games won, and they're basically sending a message to the league and saying, hey, we are back-to-back champions, and we are not looking to slow down at all.
And can I ask you a serious question?
No.
Isn't that what you want a team to do?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
They're
I would
not
die for
fucking doing
the
anything.
Guardians to do that. Like when you had like put your foot on their throat and stop them out. Like why not? Like what is wrong with winning? Like what is wrong with winning? And
Nothing.
especially in a game like baseball where you don't really have a salary cap. There is no salary floor. So so it's like why I mean, as much as I dislike the Yankees, they took advantage of that in the 90s and 2000s. They said, you know what? We're going to just spend money. We're just going to throw money at the best players possible. We're just put together a dominating roster, and we're going to win, what, 7 to 10 World Series or whatever it was that they had that run or whatever.
It was 4 and 5 years, and they went to 7 in 9 years.
Yeah, that's insane. That's insane. But it's like if they're doing it within the rules of the financial game, who can complain about that?
No, I agree. And bless you, by the way, James.
Thank you.
I caught the sneeze. The only question I have with the money and the way teams are winning is, why is everyone hating on one way how to win and making another way, just putting it on a pedestal? I mean, think about it. You mentioned the Guardians, and I'm going to go with Milwaukee on this one since we're talking about the National League. You're talking about teams that have made their farm system second to none, that bring through talent and evaluate it and are able to develop it. What's the difference? Yes, somebody's got the pocketbook, but by the way, we just mentioned at the opening of this whole thing, it's the first repeat champions in 25 years.
The difference is people want to see the Bad News Bears win. They want to see the Scrappers win.
No, they don't. I only have 2 titles and 40 years after the second one. No, they don't.
But you guys are spending money. So that has nothing to do. Like you guys are just spending money on the wrong people.
It's either the wrong people or it's the wrong mix.
Or I would probably put it more on the wrong mix than the wrong players. Yes.
Which I think is why those 4 guys are gone, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So, but you try to do it one way. Now you kind of got to swerve and try and do it the other way now.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I agree.
And I think, and like a team like the Guardians, and I see Jim chomping at the bit over there, is like a team like the Guardians that they've shown signs of success, generational success by doing it the hard way, so to speak, without just not just opening a pocketbook, by actually building up a farm system, bringing players in, going and getting a key piece here, a key piece there, and doing stuff like that without having to break the bank. And I think people really want that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take both of your arguments and I'm going to expand on them a little bit here. I think what the underlying tone is that nobody's really thought about is that we praise teams like the Guardians who have that small payroll, the Reds who have the smaller payroll, when they're successful, and then we chastise teams like the Mets, the Padres, the Blue Jays who had a astronomical payroll, but people didn't have a problem with it because of the fact that the Dodgers outspend everybody in the sport. Because the key is that these smaller teams that have to rely on their farm systems to develop realize that they've got a very, very short window before one of these hungry hippos goes out and eats that player and takes them on to be able to expand. And then basically you're just rotating in and out. So there's a big difference here between having that core kind of develop because of the way that the money structure is so broken in baseball, when they know they may only have 3 or 4 years out of this guy before the Dodgers, the Padres, the Mets, the Yankees, or the Blue Jays are going to go grab this guy and basically try to use them to buy another championship. That's the problem that people have.
And if they're not going to put like a hard salary cap on baseball, then they should put a hard stop on the length of contract. Like no more 10, 12-year contracts for $300 million. It's like, let's put a cap on like for 6 years. Like, give other teams a possibility to get in the market for a player like that. You spend 5 years with Ohtani, or do something to break up the dominating of I mean, and obviously Dodgers have enough money to spend. When you have teams that are willing to just spend money willingly and then say, you know what, we're going to sign this guy for 10 years. It's like you're basically taking that guy off the market through his prime, which is fine. You can do that right now. But I think give it 5 or 6 years. You can't make a contract longer than 5, because if you're going to have no salary cap, you got to cap something.
Yeah. The NHL did that with their collective bargaining agreement last year, that they put a cap that all deals can be no longer than 7 years. It used to be 9, or I want to say it was 8. And then teams actually went out and they signed some of their studs to like 8-year contracts, knowing that 3 weeks later, when the CBA kicked in, that cuts off at 7. Yeah, there needs to be, we talk about it in politics that there needs to be term limits, and we actually now talk about it in sports. There need to be term limits. You need to cap these contracts. If you're not going to cap the money when you don't have a salary cap or floor, and you've got to start playing within the confines to level the playing field, the other way to do that, yeah, you do cap the length, because this way then you actually force them to go out and make that decision to negotiate. You can't just say, hey, yeah, we've got this guy for 10 years. We can restructure the contract to be able to make it work. And we can actually, we can backload that contract, at this particular point, with incentives or signing bonus money like the Browns do with Deshaun Watson to be able to flirt around him. The fact that they've got this guy locked up for 10 years and he's not going anywhere. That's also the other beauty of the free agency, is the fact that you can get that superstar to make that move, namely one that we're going to talk about in the second half of the show in the NFL.
Here's the thing, though, and then let's end the National League. I got one more question about the National League. I want to make a little prediction thing here. But here's the problem with that. You're still not penalizing the owners who are lining their pockets and not putting the money back into the franchise. Think about it this way. With where payroll is at, and I'm going to use Cleveland as an example, but they win. Cincinnati, Pittsburgh,
Washington,
Colorado, Washington. Their payroll is taken care of by the revenue sharing through the contract deals or the TV deals. They made payroll for the year before merch, before concessions, hell, before tickets. So where I get what you guys are saying to try and level the playing field, I'm sorry. The first thing they got to do is they got to jam it to these sons of bitches who are blind in their fucking pockets instead of putting winners on the field. I'm sorry. I felt this way when they did it with the Wilpons, because that was horrendous. The whole Madoff thing and all that. The only thing that gave them any kind of safe space from being hammered more is they won a pennant in 2015 and they retired Piazza's number in 16 when he went in the Hall of Fame. Those are the two lasting memories, and what they did for David Wright. That's it. To the Met fan base who had dealt with Fred Wilpon from 1980, all the goodwill, the 86 championship, it's gone. All you've got left is the 15 pennant with that pitching staff that, if injury didn't take them, I'd still be talking about him. Piazza's Hall of Fame induction and number retirement, and then what they did for David Wright. Because they were putting money in their pocket to pick up their losses they had for Madoff. You have to penalize the owners that are lining their pockets and not putting the money back into the franchises. Because I got news for you. Steve Cohen ran at a loss 2 years ago and then bumped the payroll up and put whatever money he had back into the franchise. The Dodgers, at most years, before Ohtani, when they were spending all this money, ran at a loss. The Red Sox run at a loss. The Yankees have run at a loss. But they're putting this money back into the franchise. So what the fuck is their argument?
Yeah.
This is the sport with the most parity. Again, first repeat champion in 25 years. The NFL can't say that. The NHL can't say that. The NBA certainly can't fucking say that.
Yeah, the NBA. Yeah, I can't. That NBA isn't even involved in this conversation.
But you know what I mean.
But yeah, but I know exactly. But I know what you're saying. Yeah.
But the other two, and by the way, the other two are salary cap leagues.
Yeah.
Yeah, because look at it, the last repeat NBA champion you had were the Warriors, and the last NHL Stanley Cup back-to-back you had were the Lightning, the 2 years, the COVID bubble, the 2 years out of the COVID bubble.
And don't get me started on New England.
No.
And you
You've had
Kansas
more
City.
multiple champions. Yeah, you've had more multiple champions in the NFL and the NBA in the last 25 years than you've had in baseball in the last 50.
Which is insane. Is it's like how does that math that doesn't math? Because it's like
It
with
maths.
you have so much parity across the board on like all those other sports, and you don't have that in baseball. So it's like how does it end up doing that? And I
Because
honestly think it's because one team spends a lot of money, another team spends a lot of money, another team spends a lot of money. So it kind of rotates a little bit. You don't have the back-to-backs like you'd had with the Yankees. Just because one team, like you said, they run at a loss, and then all of a sudden they bump up payroll, they stock their roster, and then they come out swinging.
I think we have a direct quote about that.
The guy is drunk, but there he goes.
You're a dick.
So we shift over to the one.
Quick, who's getting to the playoffs this year? What 6 teams?
Out of the
National
NL?
League. Yep.
Dodgers, Padres, Phillies, Cubs, Brewers, and maybe Atlanta.
Jim?
I got to say the same 6 from last year. I think you guys come up short. I think you guys actually made some acquisitions, but I think you guys lost with Alonso and then some of the other moves that you guys made. I think you come up just short again. I like the 6. I just think the order is going to change. I think that I think the Cubs would overtake the Brewers naturally. I think the Brewers could end up finishing 3rd, but still could get in. I wouldn't sleep on the Marlins this year. I think the Giants are a little bit more improved. Really outside of that, Atlanta, I think, is going to actually have too much to overcome. St. Louis is still in rebuild mode. The Diamondbacks are hovering around 500. Those are your other kind of like 8 through 11 seeds, so to speak, that they're going to put together solid years. But they're just not going to be able to get there. But I like the 6 that were there.
Mets, Phillies, Cubs, Reds, San Diego, and the Dodgers.
You think the
6.
loss of Peralta is just too much for Milwaukee?
I think between the loss of Peralta and Tito in year 2, it's too much. I have a lot of faith in Tito. I don't know why. He never could manage my team, but I got a lot of faith in Tito.
So now we shift over to the league that 2 out of the 3 of us here live right in the middle of, and one obviously pays a lot of attention to. So we look at the American League now, where the Toronto Blue Jays are the defending champs, and as Mike mentioned earlier, were an eyelash away from winning their first World Series in over 30 years. Gentlemen, the Blue Jays won the mathematical tie with the Yankees to win the American League East. Seattle finally broke the Houston streak in the American League West, which we all were hoping was going to happen one day and finally came true. And then we also saw the greatest comeback in the history of baseball, with the Cleveland Guardians erasing a 15.5 game lead in 6 weeks and outlasted the Detroit Tigers on the final day of the regular season, only to be knocked out of the playoffs by the Tigers 4 days later.
Look, I want to open with the American League Central because there are a couple things that happened in the offseason. Number one, not only did Tarek Skubal set a record for highest arbitration case ever won, they signed Framber Valdez. No one's talking about that. The guy's a prick, but he's still a great lefty, and we have the full circle moment. Justin Verlander, of course, re-signs on a 1-year deal with Detroit. But I want to talk about the Cleveland Guardians, and I want to talk about the greatest thing I've ever seen in baseball. That comeback was of epic proportion. John, did Jim send you the picture of the guy with the jersey on?
Yes.
That
Games
was
back.
amazing.
Yeah.
15.5. I'm going to say this. I said this in our show last year, and James made fun of me. We can pull the clip. Do not sleep on the guards. Do not sleep on the guards. There is just something about that scrappy ass team that first of all, I love. And second of all, there is something about them. They know how to win. That is a piece that not every team has. That team knows how to win. And that is how these small market teams find a way to get it done. They know how to win. It's beautiful.
They were also the only team in the majors who made the playoffs with a negative run differential. You can't.
Correct. Yeah.
You can't win year after year with that. So they got to put more runs on the board, is what I'm saying.
I agree. I agree.
So they need more on the off, like how you said it at the beginning of the show. Their pitching staff is unbelievable from top to bottom. They need to start putting some more runs on the board.
I mean, you lose Clase, the cheating prick that he is.
Well,
and
is that really a loss? Because I mean, as good as he was,
and how much better that you notice really that they kind of turned the corner with that once all of that started to come around. I mean, the fact that they had to makeshift a closer role, and then you bring you start working with setup men. You finally get one that sticks. And can we also talk about kind of I definitely don't want to call it the elephant in the room there. We saw John Schneider win Manager of the Year with the job that he did with the Blue Jays. You can shake your head all you want, Mike, for the job that he did with that team in that division and getting to the postseason. He deserved it, but pound for pound, run for run, strike for strike, is Stephen Vogt the best? Are we looking at the next great, highly touted manager in Major League Baseball 2 years in?
You have to at least have that conversation. You have to at least have that conversation.
I don't need to have it. I'll come out and say it. Stephen Vogt, first of all, should have won Manager of the Year last year. Why? I don't give a fuck that John Schneider got to the World Series. I don't care that they beat the Yankees. You beat the Yankees without Garrett Cole last year, bud. Good job. Here's the thing. They were 15 and a half games down to a team that had the best pitcher on the planet at the top of their rotation. And they beat that dude's ass 3 times in the second half to catch him.
What was the stat that I threw out like right as the streak was starting? What? He had thrown like 28 innings and struck out 21 Guardians or something like that in 3 appearances against them to that point.
Yeah, and if you look at his last 2 starts against them, he was trash. They built him up.
And it's the fact that they don't go out and rock him, but they basically stretch it along to where we saw it. We saw it in game 162 last year, on game 161, I should say, where Scooble's out there. He wasn't out there for the finale. You needed to get to him to be able to basically clinch the division, clinch the playoff spot. You clinched the division the next day when he was not on the bump, because they had to save him for game 1 back there 3 days later. And they stretch it out. They play small ball. You think, okay, they're not going to win this game. They start chomping, nibbling away a little bit. And then unfortunately he hits David Fry in the face, which broke all of our hearts last year. And thankfully he was doing well. But the key is that you could definitely tell something changes with him, but that's just how good Scooble is that he was able to kind of put that aside and go out and throw lights out, in the playoffs.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not saying that Schneider didn't have a case to win Manager of the Year. He did. He just didn't bring his team back from 15 and a half games down, lost their all-star closer, and had to deal with the turmoil and the bullshit on top of being 15 and a half games down.
and to manufacture wins the way he did.
Exactly.
That's the key point there. It's like it's not like he did it where all of a sudden they got a key piece who was just hitting lights out. No, he had to manufacture each and every single one of those wins.
He did. And it goes to prove that catchers make the best managers.
Catchers are the best players on the field anyway, but
I agree with you.
that's my opinion.
That's where I started.
That's where I stayed.
I know.
That being said, I've said it the last 2 years. Detroit's out for blood this year.
Oh, I agree with you.
I'm
And I
not
need
going
you
to count the
keep talking
Guardians
shit about-
out, but I think Detroit is going to look to make a statement this year. Detroit,
I think Detroit-
out for blood.
Yeah, I think this is the year Detroit will wrestle the Central away from the Guards, but it's not. They're not going to run away with this thing. They're going to have to earn it.
I don't
And
think they're going to
last
run
year-
away. I don't think they're going to run away with it where they're going to win it by double digits, but I think they still win this division easily by 6 or 7 games.
I would say 4 or 5. Only because, you know, as much as it is physical, this game is the most mental game out there.
Mhm.
Guards are in their head. They're like, we can't put, we were 15 and a half games up. We couldn't put them away.
But are they though? After they turned around a week later,
But a short series,
just
John.
said-
It was a short series, John.
you're right. But I think
And-
Detroit turned it on there in that series, and they said, "Whoa, these guys can't play with us, and we got to show them why."
I
and
think
they-
the Guards ran out
and
of gas.
It was a very much a big brother little brother situation there. It was like, oh my gosh,
I think
we
the
kind of
Guards ran out of gas.
pulled our foot off the gas a little bit. We let little brother kind of catch up, and it's like, hold on, now I think we need to put our foot back on the gas and let little brother know who's in charge right now.
I don't know if it's quite that big. I will say the Guards ran out of gas catching them. At the same time, momentum in the postseason is as good as your next day starting pitcher. And if you put rotation up against rotation, Detroit is head and shoulders above Cleveland at the top end of the rotation, at the guys you were going to see in a 3-game series. So could this year be different? Could the Guardos run into them again and they get 2 great outings from their starters in games 1 and 2 and win the thing? It's absolutely possible.
Mm-hmm.
There again lies in where the quote unquote problems happen. Now Detroit's got a 3-headed monster at the top of the rotation. Verlander is, still got to impress his wife, which, God knows she needs impressing.
You really
every
want
day.
to say that about a guy? You really want to say that about a 57-year-old pitcher, Mike?
Yeah, I was gonna say he's getting up there though. I'm not taking
42.
anything away. I mean, Nolan Ryan pitched until how and was still dominating until he finished. He's the one guy that I can think of that comes to mind of just an older pitcher that Oral Hershiser pitched older and pitched well. Dennis Martinez came to Cleveland, pitched as an older gentleman and pitched very well. I'm not saying that they can't do it, but I'm saying with the way baseball has changed in the last, I'll say 2 decades, it's a lot less small ball and it's a lot more hitting the ball over the field. I think someone like Verlander needs to have a good bullpen behind him because I don't see him going 7-8 a game. I don't see him pitching 300 innings. I barely see him pitching. I barely see him pitching maybe 180, maybe 200 at a cap. But they're gonna really have to come strong with a bullpen in order to be dominant. But
So let's talk about. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead. Finish.
If he's pitching out of the 5, he's only going to get 175, 180.
Yeah.
And he's going to pitch at a guy who's going to go into Cooperstown on the first ballot is going to pitch out of the 5.
So let's look outside of the Central now, and let's look at the East and the West, which are arguably as with we know it's a 2-headed monster in the Central. but we've got multiple teams in the mix for 2026. In the East, Boston finished 5 games out, 16 games over 500. The Yankees and the Blue Jays tied at 94 and 68. Toronto wins the tiebreaker. The Yankees had to win 8 in a row just to be able to kind of get in. When we shift over to the West, Seattle again breaks Houston's 9-year run atop the American League West Division. They finished 3 games clear. The Astros got in. The Rangers finished at 500. And oh yeah, the one team that nobody wants to sleep on and the most dysfunctional franchise in baseball, really up until last year, the one that everyone's starting to get excited about, the soon to be Las Vegas, now call them Sacramento, call them SoCal, call them, if Chicago still wasn't looking for a home, we'd be playing in Azerbaijan athletics.
John, I was going to start playing the whole countries of the world by Wacko Warner or Yakko Warner for Alex to pick where the White Sox are going to play this year.
That's so funny.
Because we put him in, what we put him, Jim? What was it? Azerbaijan and Minsk?
Yep, Minsk was last year, so we got to actually find them a home for 2026.
Yeah, we got to figure that out with him. Let's start in the West, Jim, with me saying this. It took Seattle having their catcher hit 60 bombs last year to take over Houston. That ain't happening again. Cal's not hitting 60. He may hit 50. I think they need an all-star and MVP caliber season out of Julio Rodriguez to get this thing done, to win it again. Houston is in a rebuild. Altuve's, him and his buddy Kyler Murray are going to have to go work at the chocolate factory soon because they're getting old. Stop it. Who do you think is shorter, Altuve or Kyler?
This is wrong.
Who's shorter, Altuve or Kyler?
Dirty pool, man.
I don't know. You could use a yardstick to measure them.
You could use a regular inch ruler you get in friggin' 5th grade.
I don't know. I don't know. The West intrigues me. Only because of any of those teams can get hot. Any of those teams can make a run. I mean, I understand that. Like I'm looking at the stats right now. Angels Athletics all finished 14 and 18 games out respectively, but at the same time, it's like I don't think anybody in that division is winning 90 games this year. I mean,
you put a hard cap on 89 for the West.
Yeah. I mean, Houston won 87 and they tied with Detroit and they didn't make it just because Detroit had tiebreakers and whatnot. But I don't know. I mean, think of how close we were to eliminating Detroit out of the playoffs completely as far as Cleveland is concerned. Like it was that close. It was so the East, obviously it's the Blue Jays, Yankees, Red Sox. I don't think the Rays or Orioles are even competing. They haven't competed in years.
Do you think though that Baltimore maybe actually has a chance to rebound to their 2024 form? Are they closer to 2024 where they were competitive, not so much running away with that division, but last year, just the way that they bottomed out, and the fact that they actually finished that close to 500, as terrible as they were in the first half of the season, showed that, they did have the injury bug. Can they actually start to maybe put things back together a little bit? Whereas in the West, you've got Seattle, whereas as much talent as they have, and we've always kind of been thinking about them on the come up, and then Houston just trying to, grasp that, try to keep their finger in the dam before, really they get that much older and have to start breaking up that squad. It's definitely a tale of two cities here.
Do they have a chance? Absolutely. They have a chance. You still have to play the games, but I don't think it's going to matter much for the Orioles. I think I don't want to say that they're rebuilding. I just don't think they're at the point where they were in 24. Go ahead, Mike.
I think when the best pitcher you've brought in the last 3 years is Charlie Morton, who was 104 and at the tail end of his career, tells me you got your priorities mixed up. Now, they did add Alonso to the middle of that lineup, and I don't think anybody realizes how much that lengthens that lineup. You now don't need Gunnar Henderson to drive in 100 runs in order to win games. You don't need Adley Rutschman to hit fourth and try and keep a pitching staff that is god awful on the rails. You can stick Pete Alonso in that 4-hole every single day and watch him hit 35 to 40 home runs, drive in 85 to 100 runs, and not have to worry about it. So he lengthened their lineup. He made them better there. Their pitching is god awful.
All right, but what about their 3 to 6 players? Because our team's just going to pitch right around them.
No, because I think they're going to hit Gunnar Henderson behind him. I think they're going to move him to fifth to stagger the lefties and the righties. And even if you put Adley Rutschman behind him, it's not like you're putting, Joe McEwing behind him, for Christ's sake. You're putting Adley Rutschman behind him.
And you also
have Gunnar Henderson.
And 2 other names you actually we forgot about there. You got to talk about
Santander.
I'm sorry?
Santander is still in
Yeah,
Baltimore.
but you also have to talk about Ryan Mountcastle and Jackson Holiday.
Yeah. Baltimore's lineup is stacked. Their pitching. Ew.
Yeah.
Okay, so they have the opposite problem that the Indians have or Guardians have. It's like where Baltimore can score a bunch of runs, they're just going to give up a bunch of runs. Where the Guardians can hold the team to a small amount of runs, but they're going to give up just 1 or 2 extra runs.
I mean,
exactly.
The ace of Baltimore staff last year was Dean Kremer, who threw 171 and 2/3 innings, was 11-10, and had an ERA over 4.
That was the ace?
Jesus Christ.
Whoa.
I mean, he threw 142 strikeouts, but he also gave up 80 earned runs and 22 bombs.
Good Lord.
Wow. Yeah, those are not ace numbers. I'm sorry.
No. Oh, it gets worse. The second guy in their rotation, Shugano, threw 157 innings, had an ERA north of 4.5, and gave up 33 home runs.
And those are one. Oh my gosh. Yeah,
that's your 1-2.
Yeah, that's painful. Yeah.
That is extremely painful. But here's the other part. We're talking about the American League East. The Yankees ran it back. Makes sense. Can Carlos Rodon be as good? And when will Garrett Cole be back? Because if you had a healthy Garrett Cole at the top of that rotation with Max Fried, that's scary. But they also lost pieces in their bullpen. Luke Weaver made the trip across the Triborough to Queens. He's now in a Met uniform. They lost one other piece of their bullpen to somebody else. I don't remember who it was. So you're asking Trent Grisham to hit 25 bombs again. Guys, is this the year the Yankees fall on their face?
John, go ahead, because I'm actually going to make arguably one of the best comments of the night in a minute.
You cocky son of a bitch.
And I'm going to say no, simply for the fact that they will find a way to add the pieces they need at the deadline.
That's fair.
They'll hang around, and then they'll input a piece or two here or there that they just need, and that will help them get over the hump.
That's fair.
They're too good. They have other players that are just too good to fall in their face just yet.
You know the best part about the Dodgers going back to back?
The Yankees didn't do it?
No, it actually you're along the same lines as that. Once the playoffs began, that nobody took the Yankees seriously, even though they got to the World Series 2 years ago.
Nobody took them seriously when they got to the World Series 2 years ago.
Exactly. Everyone knew that was the Dodgers series. The Yankees got into the playoffs last year, lost out on the tiebreaker, and nobody talked about them. Everybody was talking about Cleveland, Seattle, and Toronto. Nobody actually factored in the Yankees, despite tying for that division title.
And still, when they lost, it was one of the greatest post-game locker room things I've ever heard in my entire life. Did you see that,
But
John?
here's the thing: even though nobody, they were still there. Like
Agreed.
that's the thing. They have a mediocre season. Nobody's scared of them, yet they're still there.
John,
like-
they are the Ohio State Buckeyes of baseball.
Hey, but they're there. They give themselves a chance every single year. They're there. And that's all you need is you need those extra games in October, and you give yourself a chance.
Look, I'm pushing 50. You know how many postseasons I've seen as a Met fan? 86, 88, 99, 2000, 2006, 2015, 2016, 24. That's it. That's it. I would kill for that chance every year.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of teams out there that would.
I watch October baseball most years, and I'm going, motherfucker. We were so much better than this.
So same question as we're now pushing an hour, and we still got another segment to go here, which hopefully will not go nearly as long. Predictions.
No.
Who's your 7 getting in from the American League?
6.
6.
Ooh.
I got my 6 off the top of my head, if you don't mind me.
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead, Mike.
Toronto, Boston, Seattle, Detroit, Cleveland, and the Yankees.
So
I think you
same
get
playoffs.
2 out of the Central.
Same playoffs as last year.
2 out of the Central. No, Boston didn't get in last year.
That's right.
You had 2.
So he
You had
pulls
2
out
from the
he
West.
pulls out Houston and puts Boston in.
Yep. So I just believe in that team at Cleveland. Sorry.
I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go this. I'm gonna have to say Toronto, New York, Boston, Cleveland, Detroit, Seattle.
I'm gonna go.
I think that's the same as you, Mike. I think that's what you said.
Yeah.
You just
I'm gonna go-
listed them differently.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go Toronto, New York, Detroit, Seattle, Houston, and the Athletics.
Wow,
That's interesting. John, they have got some seriously good young talent.
Oh, I know they do. I know they do, but the operative word there is young. Do they have what it takes to go 162 and survive other teams' runs? And because like you said, baseball is mental. And do these young guys have what it takes to fend off Seattle's experience? Do they have what it takes to fend off Houston's experience?
I think you're missing the most important point with that, John, is the fact that they are playing in a stadium that only holds less than 20,000 people right now. And if anyone's actually going to be, if any team in baseball is going to have the mental acumen to be able to go ahead and compete that late in the season, look at what they did last year to be able to just be 12 games under 500. And the way that they came on towards the end of last year, knowing that their new ballpark's still not going to be ready for 2 more years in Las Vegas, and they are this good, this young, and this hungry.
Yeah, I'm going to go one step further, and I use the trope a lot when it comes to young teams. They're too young and stupid to know that they're not supposed to be there if
They're
get
too
there.
young and stupid to know that they're too young and stupid. Yeah.
Yes.
So we shift.
Yes. So
Go ahead.
I was saying, now we're going to shift to talking about our least favorite network to cover the game.
Earlier this week, back on March the 4th, ESPN came out with their 2026 ranking of baseball's top 100 players. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to run down the top 20, and then we're going to discuss them for just a couple of minutes. We're not going to do the individual breakdowns here, but some of the ones are going to be basically shoo-ins. It's just going to be a matter of slotting them at this point. Number 1, designated hitter / starting pitcher Shohei Ohtani of the Dodgers. Number 2, Aaron Judge of the New York Yankees. Number 3, Bobby Witt Jr. of the Kansas City Royals. Number 4, Tarek Skubal of the Tigers. Number 5, Juan Soto of the New York Mets. Number 6, Paul Skeens, the stud from the Pittsburgh Pirates. Number 7, Cal Raleigh, the reigning American League MVP from the Seattle Mariners. Number 8, Garrett Crochet, the starting pitcher of the Boston Red Sox. Number 9, Julio Rodriguez from the Seattle Mariners, the second Mariner on this list already. Number 10, Ronald Acuna Jr., the right fielder from the Atlanta Braves. Number 11, as my mouse is acting up, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. of the American League champion Toronto Blue Jays. Number 12, Jose Ramirez, the all-class player from the Cleveland Guardians. Number 13, Gunnar Henderson, the star shortstop of the Baltimore Orioles. Number 14, Fernando Tatis Jr., the right fielder for the San Diego Padres. Number 15, Kyle Tucker, the right fielder for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Number 16, Francisco Lindor, the shortstop of the New York Mets. Number 17, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the defending World Series MVP from the Los Angeles Dodgers. Number 18, Corbin Carroll, the right fielder from the Arizona Diamondbacks. Number 19, Christopher Sanchez, the starting pitcher of the Philadelphia Phillies. And rounding out the top 20, Ketel Marte, the second baseman from the Arizona Diamondbacks. Fellas, your thoughts?
So you had 2 players from the Dodgers.
Your
Huh?
thoughts?
You had 3 players from the Dodgers, none of them named Mookie Betts. That's shocking. I'm not shocked Soto's in the top 5. I have no issue with the top 5 outside of I would put Skubal in front of Bobby Witt.
I like the top 5.
Oh no, same players. I flip
No.
Skubal
Yeah,
and Bobby Witt.
I like the order. I think.
Oh, okay. Look, the top 100 is a wonderful thing to do. It's just they basically take the back of the baseball card from the year before and throw people in order. I will say this: there are 3 shortstops on this list total.
Yes. Yeah.
What happened there? It's Witt, Lindor, and Henderson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of what I read off,
What
because
happened?
the next closest shortstop at 24 is Ellie De La Cruz from the Cincinnati Reds.
Damn. Remember a time when the shortstops were like the top 5?
They're still drafted. Top, the top 20. You'll have 16 shortstops drafted, and 4 pitchers.
I mean,
And
go ahead.
a bunch of the shortstops end up moving to second or third.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think because shortstop is the most versatile position, and it can play multiple areas. So obviously it's heavy in the draft because you can pluck those guys in any position pretty much anywhere, because they're usually one of the more athletic players on the field. I think the catcher is the smartest, and I think the shortstop is the most athletic. But aside from that, it's to only have 3 listed on this in the top 20. It goes to show how offensive heavy baseball is becoming. And so
And all 3 shortstops can play good defense too.
I completely agree. I completely agree. But I'm just saying, I think they're putting so much more offense or so much more emphasis on the offensive side of baseball that's where this list is coming from versus, how many gold gloves are listed in the top 20 right here?
yeah, that's a good question. That's a very good question. I'd have to go and
so
research this, but
So I think they're putting a lot more emphasis on the offensive side of the game. And I think that's just the way baseball has been transitioning in the last 2 decades. You don't have the 2-1 games as frequently as you used to. Now you're looking at 11-12, walk-off home runs at 13-11. It's like, what? It's like, that's crazy. So it's like you're getting a lot more of those style games than you are the defensive battle games.
And think about when you typically run down, top 100 players in any of the sports, you're going to have a couple of anomalies out there that are really good players on really bad teams. We have that here, but that's kind of the beauty of baseball, just how individualized each individual position is. Whereas, basketball, you've got Steph Curry still up in there, despite the fact that the Warriors are a middle of the road team. You've got Giannis on there, despite the fact that Milwaukee is a middle of the road team. Look at this list. Bobby Witt Jr., the third best player in all of baseball for a team that was out of the playoffs, out of the playoff mix, essentially the first week of August. You've got, Soto and Lindor, that the Mets were out, a little earlier than people thought. You actually needed 60 home runs for Cal Raleigh to get on this list. You've got Gunnar Henderson, who was 13th on the worst team in his division. You've got two Arizona Diamondbacks on this in this top 20 right now. Great players, but they still finished 2 games under 500 and more than 15 games out in their division. Granted, how top heavy their division is, but it still actually kind of shows you can be a great player on a bad team. Still not going to translate into anything.
No, I mean, how many team MVPs have we had on losing teams?
Yeah,
one.
it just doesn't happen.
I mean, the other thing too is I think a lot of this is done with no real guidance as to who you can vote for. Acuna's coming off 2 knee surgeries, but he's in the top 20. But a guy like, again, Mookie Betts is not there. Where's Freddie Freeman?
36.
Jesus
And
Christ.
according to this list, also, there are no players from the Chicago White Sox, the Colorado Rockies, the Miami Marlins, or the St. Louis Cardinals on this list, because the only players that would have been on the Cardinals now were traded.
Yeah, and I think the only ones on the Nationals is probably the left fielder and the shortstop are probably on there down at the bottom.
James Wood, 44.
Yeah, he's so good, dude. He is so good. The top 20s, especially when it comes from fucking ESPN. Whatever.
I gotta say though, realistically, I don't have a problem with anybody on this list. I mean,
I don't have a problem with the list. I have a problem with the way they put it together.
I agree, but I mean, arguably, if you're gonna put together like a 20-man roster, that's a hell of a lineup to do it with.
You only got 1 pitcher. I'm sorry, 2. Yamamoto's on there.
Well, you got Ohtani, you got Skubal, you have Skeens, you got Crochet.
I forgot about Skeens and Crochet. My fault.
You got Yamamoto, and you got Christopher Sanchez.
Where did he come from?
Yeah, but everyone remember when the kid from Milwaukee got into the All-Star game after 6 starts. If they had a brain in their head and actually wanted to put the guy in that deserved to be there as opposed to the guy that was just trying to make the splash, Christopher Sanchez should have been in the All-Star game and Miz should have been sitting his ass home.
Yeah.
Mike, whatever you did there is given feedback. You reached forward and did something. I'm getting feedback.
Oh, I had to plug it in.
Oh, okay.
I had to plug it in.
Oh, it's just.
Is it better now?
No, it's whatever you reached forward and did something. I'm getting feedback. That's all.
Here, let me try and mess with the level.
That's good. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a buzz coming through.
It did. Battery saver turned on.
So yeah. So
I changed location.
I don't have a problem with this list at all. I mean, I think this is. But again, at the same time, I just think it's you have pitchers and then you have offensive heavy players. But like you said, I think
No
unless
problem.
unless somebody is in the bottom half of the league, as far as teams are concerned, unless they're battling for like a potential triple crown, you're not going to hear about them.
Exactly.
So, as we kind of close out the first half of the show here, Michael, for your information, the Mets that made this list: Soto at 5, Lindor at 16, Bo Bichette comes in at 38. Uh, well, I mean, they rank him at 38. He's technically on the Mets. I don't even know if I really want to, call him a Met at this point. Freddie Peralta at 68 and Nolan McLean at 100. I'm sorry, John. The only other Guardian that appears on this list, Stephen Kwan at 83.
Wow.
Well, it's also because of how injured he was last year.
No, I'm just saying I'm
easily would have been in the top 50.
But that just goes to show that they're producing without top talent. I mean, they have a few top talent, but they're producing regardless.
Yeah.
And that is a testament to the coach.
Hey, John, that McLean kid, you would love to watch him pitch.
Yeah.
I have never seen a breaking ball do what he does.
Really?
And he throws 3 of them. And a changeup. And a two-seam. This is the one, he was the two-way player out of Oklahoma State that they called Cowboy Ohtani.
Oh, jeez. That's awesome. Have you seen the guy that pitched for the Guardians that throws submarine and then throws overhand and then throws what?
Did you see the guy who does the impersonations of the broadcasters do Tom Hamilton for that one?
Yes. I did see that. I did. That guy is hilarious. That guy's very, very funny.
Oh, he's amazing. He's amazing.
So I'll end here on this, why I'm so high on the Athletics, to kind of drive the point home. They've got 4 players on this list. Nick Kurtz, the first baseman, sits at 29. Brent Rooker, the designated hitter, sits at 66. Shea Langoliers, the catcher, is at 75. And Jacob Wilson, the shortstop, is at 94.
Oh.
They're going to be good. If they can put their pitching together, they're going to be good. We're not doing halftime. We're just going right through, right? We're just trying to get out of here.
You want to skip halftime?
I was probably going to cut it out at halftime because these lights are just really messing with my eyes and stuff, and it's bothering. Like I'm leaking.
Dude, if you got to fly him and I can, dude, if you got to fly him and I can do the blast and get out of here.
So I think I'm going to call it a night because I need to take some NyQuil and get to bed. Plus we're also working on the hour change from last night, so we're a little bit off right now. So.
The forward never bothers me. The back bugs shit.
Really? The forward always bothers me because we're looking at what? We're looking at almost 11:20 instead of 10:20.
Yeah.
Because no, wait, we sprung forward, so it's 9:15 because we sprung forward. So I don't know. That's weird.
That's why it doesn't bother me.
That would make sense. But yeah, guys, with that, I'm gonna have to sign off because I'm just like the lights in my face and everything is just like and I really don't want to do this in the dark. You guys want to see my pretty mug?
We appreciate you coming on. We're going to try and actually get you on here before too long. Once I actually have the OBS set up or looking to get it set up here in the next couple of weeks.
Just reach out to me, let me know, and I'll help out any way I can.
We'll set that up. Yeah, I got to figure out, before too long, can I actually get the computer to be able to start streaming alongside you, especially kind of baby Tenno guiding you along.
Yes. That's fantastic. All right, guys. Hey, have a great rest of your night. Have a great rest of your stream. I appreciate you guys having me on. And hey, so long and big balls.
Good night, John.
That's amazing. And we wonder why he's the Hall of Famer. Real quick before we move forward. So the person I sent the clip of us talking about the oyster catchers that I was mentioning before we went on the air. She had the udder tuggers, the motorboaters, the rubber ducks did cream-filled donuts.
I believe so.
Bro, we could have an entire episode of just about the reaction to each of those that each of us would give.
We could find time to do that in one of the like the mid-April shows or sometime over the summer where
Yes.
baseball is going to be the only thing going on other than the WNBA?
We should do that. And God knows they may not be going on at all.
Right, right at this point. Real quick before we launch the blast, uh, Buffalo came back and won that game 8-7. It was a 1-0 game after one period, Mike. They scored 7 goals in the second period and 7 goals in the third period combined.
Jesus
So
Christ.
Buffalo was up 4-1, 11:07 into the second period. Tampa scores 3 goals in a span of 5 minutes, pushes the lead to 6-4 5 minutes into the third period, and then Buffalo scores 4 goals in the final 14 minutes, including 3 unanswered, to win that game and take over first place. It is the latest the Sabres have been in first place in their division in the NHL since, I want to say, 2011.
Jesus. They're the Jets and not the good ones.
The Sabres right now are sitting in first place, 2 points ahead of Tampa, and they are only 2 points behind Carolina for the best record in the Eastern Conference. And oh yeah, they're only 11 points behind Colorado for the best record in hockey. They're not going to catch that. But
Jesus.
yeah, the Sabres have won 7 in a row. They are the hottest team in hockey.
Again, because we did an episode where they were the hottest team coming out at some point in time.
Yeah. I want to say there were like December 8th, they were like 11, 14, and 7. And I want to say they've been like 27, 7, and 4 or some crazy number like that since. Including
That
this
is a
is their
crazy number.
second time with at least a 7-game winning streak since Christmas.
Good Lord. Oh, so let's do the blast intro, James, because I'm gonna miss that.
I don't even have it loaded, but yeah, stand by.
It's all good.
Hey, in case you haven't noticed, and judging by the attendance, you haven't.
Yes, the dulcet tones of Bob Uecker.
So for those of you who don't know, we actually have now gone to a fully pre-recorded format. So the only time we're on live, it's not going to be much like our previous live shows were. We basically are going to try and get in, get out. Here with this, we're not going to have necessarily the same type of hat trick. With that, we're not doing a YC translator most of those times. We're certainly not doing one tonight here, so we can actually get out pretty early. The blast has kind of incorporated itself into the new format. It's just not nearly as extensive as we typically do now. But tonight in the blast, we've got a quick one here, but it's definitely noteworthy. We've got a massive trade in the NFL. We've got a big suspension in the NHL, and then we've got arguably one of the most influential tag teams in wrestling history from our youth finally getting their kudos. So, Mike, let's actually start there on the left as the Las Vegas Raiders trade All-Pro defensive end Max Crosby to the Baltimore Ravens for 2 future first-round picks, one of them coming up in next month's draft.
We knew Crosby was getting out of Vegas. It just depended on how much and who would give it up. This is the worst case scenario for the Cleveland Browns, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and for especially the Cincinnati Bengals, who not only have a injury-prone quarterback, but they don't have an offensive line to protect them. But Jim, this opens up another question. And it was posed online on Bleacher Report, and I want to see if you've seen this. But someone put up what the Browns would get for Myles Garrett. And the early returns from that rumor are that New England is ready to pay it.
They've
New
got
England would
the
give up their
capital to do it.
New England would give up their first this year, their first next year. It's basically the Watson trade. And a second in one of those years. With Max Crosby coming to the division and seeing that you can rebuild a team with what you get, Jim, are they going to trade Miles?
After winning his second Defensive Player of the Year award in the last 3 years, and setting the all-time sack record, um, he's not getting the Deshaun treatment. He's getting the only way the Browns would actually make that move is if it's the Jalen Ramsey treatment. You're giving up. You're earning 3 first-round picks, plus also maybe a mid-round with that. 2 firsts and a second is not going to fly, considering they're all going to be back end of the round.
Well, no, it was 3 firsts. It was this year, next year, and 27, or 26, 27, 28, and then a second in one of those years.
I still don't see how, because at that point you've got, the intrigue of having 6, 24, 31, and
It was
30.
like 36.
It's like 36 or 37. So having 4 in the first 37 would be great. But here's the thing is that you tool the offensive side of the ball enough, you could win yourself 6, 7, 8 games this year. I'm not saying you're going to contend for a playoff spot, but you're definitely not winning 3. And
No.
Myles Garrett is a big part of that. I think if the Browns are gonna make a big move, I think Denzel Ward gets moved before Myles Garrett does, because you could probably get 2 first rounds for Denzel, even if you get a mid, or if you get a 1 and maybe a couple of 2s. Myles just signs that big contract and everything. I'm not saying he's untouchable, but he's about the only guy on this team right now that I think is.
No, I agree with you. I'm just saying, would they have to listen with everything that they have that they need to rebuild on this team? Would they have to listen? I think they have to listen. I don't think they do it. I think that Deshaun's trade hit a fan base that is starving for a winner. And if you trade the only real good player they have, they're just going to revolt.
Yeah, it's because we said it on our pre-recorded show a couple of weeks ago. I've never actually seen a team start to rebuild in the middle of a rebuild the way that the Cleveland Browns have. And if you do that now and you're doing a rebuild in the middle of a rebuild, what's there to care about?
Nothing.
Exactly.
Let's ask one final question on this part. Does this make Baltimore the favorite in the AFC North moving forward?
You would have to kind of think so, for the fact of, although once come playoff time, you can't take them seriously. But the Browns not really going anywhere. They still need their quarterback. They also need to retool their entire offensive line. Tyler Linderbaum, with the Ravens staying on the at center, that he was rumored to be following Todd Monk into Cleveland, is not going to happen. So Baltimore's basically set up there. Pittsburgh's got to figure out what's going on. There's a lot of people that are talking that Pittsburgh could be linked to Ty Simpson in the first round, try to maybe rectify the blunder that they had with Kenny Pickett in the first round a few years prior to that. Cincinnati, you're absolutely right, needs an offensive line, and you were telling me really since this trade went down, in the last couple of days, that now Joe Burrow's going to have to face Max Crosby, T.J. Watt, and Myles Garrett 6 games out of the year.
It's asking for Burrow to retire early. It's crazy. I don't know how Cincinnati goes to sleep at night. I mean, first they don't fire their garbage coach, and now they're boned.
And then you also figure with Vegas, not only do they trade Crosby, but at least get some good draft capital back for it. They cut Geno Smith, or they announced that they're going to be cutting Geno Smith, which actually means when they draft, Mendoza first overall next month, what are they going to actually run? Aiden O'Connell's basically going to be your backup, but but he's still young, and there's no veteran leadership there.
No, there's not. If anybody is in a full tear down and redo it, it's definitely the Raiders. Poor Fernando. But let's talk about Evgeny Malkin. What happened?
So the Buffalo Sabres were facing Pittsburgh Yesterday, not yesterday. It was because Buffalo had a different had they did play it back to me. It might have been yesterday. Um, Malkin is kind of battling in front of the net with Rasmus Dahlin. Dahlin cross checks Malkin a couple of times. Replay also showed that he kind of slashed him in the hands, and then um, they kind of face each other after a whistle and everything. And Malkin proceeds to slash Dahlin in the neck like a two-hand
Whoa.
chop to the neck.
Whoa.
Yeah, and
Gino's not the
Mal
angry type either, is he?
and yeah, and very uncharacteristic for him. And Gino, even though it happened many years ago, it's not like traffic tickets. It does not fall off your record after a certain amount of time. So he is thought of as a repeat offender through his career, and the NHL suspended Evgeny Malkin 5 games today. So he will miss their next 5 contests. And the Pittsburgh Penguins, as it stands right now, are sitting in second place in the Metropolitan Division at 78 points, trailed only by 1 point by the New York Islanders. And the Penguins are 8 points back at Carolina for tops in that division. So that is a huge, huge loss for what might be Crosby and Malkin's last serious run in the playoffs. I'm not saying with the talent that's out there that they're going to be competing for a Stanley Cup, but it'd be good to actually see them in the tournament one more time.
It would be good to see him in a tournament one more time. I will say this though: how many years ago was his incident?
I want to say the last time he got popped was, I want to say it was 2017, if I remember the story.
So we're holding the guy accountable for something that happened 9 years ago.
Yeah, but I don't care if it's a hockey player or not. I'm sorry. I don't care if you're getting cross-checked in the back. It's not a hockey play. You cannot slash a guy in the neck.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that you're going to hold the suspension after something that happened 9 years ago. The guy's been a model citizen since. That to me is a little ridiculous, but I get it.
So according to the story, he will forfeit $158,000 in salary. It happened during Thursday's game. He was given a 5-minute major match penalty for misconduct, which occurred early in the second period. He engaged with Dahlin next to the net after the defenseman hit him with a cross check. The official signaled the penalty coming to Dahlin, but Malkin still retaliated by slashing Malkin in the head and neck area with his stick. He further dropped his gloves with the intention of fighting Dahlin, but the referee stepped in and escorted him from the ice. He was fined 5 times before and suspended twice in his career, once in 2009 for roughing and in 2022 for cross-checking. And he's prone to high stick-related infractions, including 1 fine for a slashing penalty earlier this year. So it's not even so much the nature of the penalty. So it's like it's not like, I get you're going to get suspended for cross-checking a guy above the numbers, but if you actually slash him in the knee or slew foot him, it's a different penalty. It's one for everything. So if you've been suspended for dirty play, it stays on your record. So the next time you committed a dirty infraction, you could be broken off again. That's why Sean Avery got as many suspensions as he did towards the end of his career.
Sean Avery was a prick, though.
So, as a Sabres fan, did Malkin did Dahlin entice the penalty? Absolutely. Should he have cross-checked him? No. Did he slash him in the hands? Arguably, yes, because you could definitely see once the official stepped in that Malkin was actually saying he slashed my hands. It was obvious, but again, you keep your stick below the numbers. I don't care what you do. You want to punch him in the face, and take the 2-minute for roughing, or take maybe a double minor. You don't slash him in the head, because at that point, then you're basically kicked out of the game. You cost your team a 5-minute power play at that point, which Buffalo obviously took advantage of, and you get to sit for multiple games from the league as well. So keep your head on your shoulders.
And don't try and take someone else's off of theirs.
I
But
agree.
Jim, let's get to the happy thing to end this thing, and that is the WWE Hall of Fame, which this year, the class of 2026, of course, the first person to go in was Stephanie McMahon. We both thought that she should be in, but it was a little early. Of course, the second person announced was the phenomenal one, was AJ Styles. In an amazing move by The Undertaker. But this one was about 20 years too late.
Yeah.
And the second winningest tag team of our youth is
They may
finally
not have,
going in.
they may not have won the most titles, like putting them on the same, platform as teams like the Freebirds or the Midnight Express or the Road Warriors or the Dudley Boys. But if
The Hart
one
Foundation.
team really defined the 1990s in the WWE/WWF, this was it.
It really was. And Demolition is finally going into the Hall of Fame. From what I saw, it's only Axe and Smash that were told, or is Crush
Correct.
still around?
Crush passed away years ago
I
from
thought so.
alcohol.
Okay.
I believe from alcohol poisoning.
Yeah, it's so Axe and Smash, who are in their 60s now.
Bill, I want to say Axe Barry Darso is in his late. I'm sorry, Smash Barry Darso is in his late 60s, and then Bill Edel he's in his early 70s. That's the original Axe, because people forget the original Smash was Moondog Rex, and too many fans were recognizing him from when he was with the Freebirds and the Moondogs back in the old NWA that he was
That's
replaced
right.
by Barry Darso.
That's right. Couple of big Demolition things that I remember. Didn't they win the belts off of the Typhoon and Earthquake, the natural disaster?
That was the second one. Their first title reign came at WrestleMania 4, where they beat, and here's a blast from the past. Remember Strike Force?
Oh my God.
Tito Santana and Rick Martel.
The Model.
They were managed by Mr. Fuji at the time. Their first manager was Johnny Valiant. They also were managed by Jimmy Hart for a small period, when Jimmy Hart had actually kind of turned his back on the Powers of Pain with their short-lived face run. But
That's right.
Demolition went from being monster heels, basically kind of stole the look straight out of Mad Max.
Mhm.
Back then, the face paint, the slick black hair, the black studded, harnesses and everything. The demolition device finishing move, which was really one of the first real tag team finishers that we can really remember. I mean, you had in the 80s, you had the heart attack, you had the spike pile driver. I can't remember what the Midnight Express used, but they had one. The Rock and Roll Express had the double drop kick. You had the double fist drop from the Rockers. You had the Doomsday device that everyone remembers from the Legion of Doom / Road Warriors, because that was the one that everyone remembered because of how violent and how unusual it was. But it really just everyone, once you saw that, Smash had put the guy across his knee and you saw Axe starting to head up to the second rope, you knew what was coming.
Every time. But yeah, this is a long time coming. This really is. I fully expect to see, as an entity, some more of these guys get in. You have teams like that just, first of all, really redefined the division, to be honest with you. And epic matches that they were in, that you just, didn't they basically co-headline a WrestleMania with that?
Essentially, yeah. I mean, they never really got the chance to put them and the Legion of Doom together, because the reason why Crush was brought in, because of all the times that they did touring Japan, that Axe had developed a seafood allergy and became so ill that he had trouble traveling. So they actually brought in Crush, Brian Adams, as that third person, and then that's where the Freebird rule came in. That's why the Freebirds had Jimmy Jam Garvin and Terry Gordy, because of illnesses with one or the other or injury. So this way you could keep the thing going and be able to pluck guys in and out before you had the mega corporation type, um, stables and everything back in the the late 90s, early 2000s when the business really started to change. Their legendary battles against the Brain Busters, the Powers of Pain, the Colossal Connection at WrestleMania. You remember Haku and Andre the Giant. Their face run. After turning, they're just and let's also talk about the elephant in the room. The only reason they're getting in now as opposed to 20 years ago was because of the fact that they were on the list of the lawsuit that was filed against the WWE 10, 12 years ago for the CTE issues that
Yeah,
got
Vince
thrown
is a
out.
piece of garbage. Vince was a piece of garbage.
So, congratulations to Axe and Smash, and yeah, Mike, we hit on it perfectly last week when we talked about AJ. Mark Calloway, the Undertaker, is the new David Baker. Even though David
He is
Baker
the
retired several years ago, that's now what he's become. So it's going to be very
good for
interesting
him.
to see. They've still got, I want to say, 5 or 6 weeks. It's going to be very interesting to see who else goes in at that point. And I think this is also I want to get your take on it. Could this be maybe the domino to where we actually start seeing the guys or the teams or the personalities that should have been in but weren't for certain reasons finally start to break through, grab that and I can't really say grab that brass ring because they already did during their careers, but kind of, shatter that glass ceiling to be able to start letting some of these guys go in, possibly like um Demolition was the one that we all knew about. Owen Hart's never going to get in because Martha Hart's never going to sign off on it. Davey Boy Smith is in because of inducting of the Hart Foundation and everything. Start throwing out names out there. We finally got the Steiners in a few years ago, despite the fact that Scott had such a problem with Vince, and that was right about the time that Vince was leaving, and then Nick Khan and everybody was starting to take over. We're gonna see The Rock before too long. We're gonna see Triple H is already in. Um, we're gonna see Cena before too long. Um, Cena's gonna probably be one of the obvious choices because you're not gonna want to have him a headline over in Saudi next year.
No, I think you're going to see him going this year. The one I'm interested to see, and I don't know if he's in or if he's not. And obviously he's gone now. Is Heenan in?
Bobby Heenan's been in for a while.
All right.
I just kind of pull up. I kind of threw up a quick search here. So some of the names that were snubbed under kind of Vince's watch here, and Angelo Mosca from back in the '60s. See what else? Adrian Adonis. I don't know if that would ever happen. King Kong Bundy.
That should. Is Big John Studd in?
Big John Studd is in. The Dynamite Kid.
If Davey's in, how is Dynamite Kid not in?
Yeah. But Dynamite Kid also was he had some issues with there.
Yeah.
If they can actually Lex Luger got in, IRS got in, Bruiser Brody could be a name, Jim Cornette could be a name.
Cornette won't ever go in. Cornette, he hates them so much.
Okay, here's a really good list. Now that we've seen Demolition come in with them being attached to everything, the way that they departed the company and everything that kind of happened in the news behind the scenes with them, let me throw a couple of other names out as now Demolition kind of being the gatekeepers and breaking this wall down. In no particular order, the Brooklyn Brawler.
And not only that, remember what he did for what he still does, because he's still there. what he does behind the scenes now.
Victoria,
Uh,
I know she's in the TNA Hall of Fame. I know she had a really good WWE career, very lasting. And I think if you're going to put like Kelly and Tori Wilson in, you got to put Victoria in because she was a wrestler's wrestler during that period.
that's true.
I'm going to save this one for last because I think it might be the most obvious. Magnum TA?
No.
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 I mean, granted, he did make his mark in WCW NWA, which WWE absorbed all of that, that talent from.
Oh yeah.
Sable,
Maybe.
Cyndi Lauper, I think needs to go into
Captain
the.
Losing.
If you're going to induct Drew Carey and Mr. Shits and Pants, which there's a lot of people right now that says you need to actually take him out for all the controversy that's involved.
Yeah.
And three more here. China.
Who's already in as a member of DX. Yeah, she needs to go in as a singles. Absolutely.
Despite the friction that she had with the company, despite the drug use afterwards, despite the adult film career that she had afterwards.
Paul will do right by her.
Okay. ECW originals. Like Van Damme's already in, but I'm talking like since they've already got that absorbed and Paul E's in, you figure of the ECW roster of all those legends, the only guys that you've really got in are the Dudleys, Heyman, and Rob Van Dam. So what about guys like Sabu, Tommy Dreamer, even though Dreamer would have to leave TNA to do it, the Sandman, you're never going to put New Jack in. Taz.
See, Taz should be in because he went from ECW and then he was a huge part of one of the best storylines of our childhood, which was the Invasion. And he was a damn good commentator. Put him in.
Rhino.
Rhino and
I think arguably the one guy who should be that I don't know if he'd even want it, Raven.
Raven won't want it.
I saw his interview with Chris Van Vliet. It doesn't sound like he would. He'd accept it if they actually offered it. I just don't think he wants it. I think Scott Levy's in a place in his life where, with the early onset Parkinson's and everything, it's just he doesn't care. He even says he hasn't watched the product in years.
No.
But
no.
Arguably, as great as the promotion was, could there be anybody else in that company that could get the audience to eat out of the palm of their hand because of just how friggin' smart they were? More than Paul Heyman, than Scott Levy, the Raven character?
No. But I think Sandman needs to be thought about.
And here's the last one because we already talked about Owen Hart. If Lex Luger got in last year, what about Miss Elizabeth?
Yeah. You're talking about when you think about 80s, 4 people. Hogan, Andre, Macho, Piper. Macho came with Elizabeth. Yeah, no, she get it.
I think there's no question that Liz should be in. I'm just wondering if so many people are just like, holding her out because of Randy's, all the stuff that actually came out with like the Dark Side of the Ring episodes, showing just really how dark, her life was outside, her drug use afterwards, basically, costing her life, which, Lex still kicks himself about every day. Um, every time her name gets brought up, and everything. So, I mean, I think for everything that she's done for the business, I think Elizabeth, I'm almost wondering if it might be kind of like the Rocket, like the Owen Hart situation where Martha Hart doesn't want, you know, to be tied to it anymore. I'm wondering if the family of Elizabeth Hulette doesn't want anything to do with it anymore.
It's possible. It's very possible. I mean, if you think about it, we had a SummerSlam that her wedding was on. That was the double main event.
Yeah. It was a
Match made in
non-wrestling thing that was a main event type
The
situation.
match made in heaven and the match made in hell.
Right.
I'll never forget that as long as I live.
Yeah. I mean, if Ravishing Rick Rude can have his family come up there posthumously and accept for him with the fact that he left the program and went over to the live broadcast on the same night and still get in, despite how great his career was in the WWF back then, and the fact that he's one of the only major players to work for all three major companies at that point. There weren't many of them, ECW, WCW, WWF, all in the 90s there. You had the Sandman who worked for all three, even though he was known as Hack. He was only in WCW for, a year or two, didn't really do anything of note. Cornette's on that list. I think Cornette's eventually going to get in one of these days, but I don't know if he really cares. It might be the Scott Lee
No.
type thing. But I think, with the mark that Liz left, you'd have to put her in because of how instrumental she was when she jumped to WCW as well, working with Flair and the Horsemen and everything. But there's got to be
Yeah.
other names that we're just forgetting here. But it goes down to, finally we're seeing Demolition get in, way overdue. And as much as we chastise the company for some of the practices they do even after Vince has left, at least the one good thing is we're starting to see them trying to right some of the wrongs that he had on, when he was there as the gatekeeper.
Agreed. But hey, we're under 2. Hurry up.
So we will actually be coming to you guys. We talked about it here in the earlier part of the show. Mike and I will be taping later on this week. We will actually be the new show will probably be up sometime on Saturday. I will probably try to get that uploaded on Friday night, the 13th. Oh God, because of the way that the months fall, we've got back-to-back Friday the 13th.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I don't have the Halloween theme on here, if that's what you're asking.
No. Where'd it go? Son of a bitch.
Okay, can we not do that right now?
Seriously, that's where I was going.
Because you know what would happen if I did go there?
Insubordinate and churlish.
Chicanerous
and deplorable.
Exactly. So we will see you guys in our taped form this coming weekend. The next live event for the Wise Guys will be the 2026 first round live draft react. We will hopefully have all 4 of the guys with us. And Alex, when you watch this, you have a homework assignment. You need to pick which city outside of the U.S. that your White Sox are going to play in come for 2026.
And this show is going to look dramatically different. Mike and I have a couple of things in the pipe that we've already talked about. For those of you who don't know, I have recently changed jobs. It's still the same job. It's just now with a different company. I cannot elaborate on that really further than that, but it's also going to mean I'm now going to have new computer equipment from my old job, which I actually can say because I'm not there anymore, that will allow me to be able to produce this show a little bit better than on a Chromebook. All due respect to a Chromebook, there's certain things that just I can't do on a Chromebook that I would be able to do on an actual Windows computer. So you'll see some of the quality of these live shows certainly improve. You'll see the tape shows get a little bit better. things will run smoother. Hopefully, I'll be able to upload a little bit faster. Whereas I told you guys in previous weeks, where it'll take us an hour to tape the show, it'll take me upwards of 5 hours to mix the show, and then another 2 hours to upload the show on a Friday night or Saturday. So we're hopeful that that's not kind of going to be the equation here going forward. And then Mike and I are going to have a different look physically by the time we come to you guys for the draft. And you might even see that before the draft show if everything goes according to the plan. But we'll actually keep you guys in the loop.
Sounds like a plan. So for JC Blue Note and myself, the Big Recon Sports, and of course, the Hall of Famer, the Sporting Sith, it is time to say goodnight in under 2 hours.
We will see you guys on Saturday. Everyone take care. Have a great night.
Take care, everybody.